Hello everybody, this is TheXseption, and welcome to my review of Pokemon Sun and Moon. Now I have about 45 hours in the game, something like that, and I feel like that's enough to have formed an opinion on what I think of the game, the pros and the cons, what I didn't like and what I did like. But before we hop into the review part, I want to go ahead and say that there will be some spoilers throughout. I'll try not to spoil anything major, but if you don't want to see any spoilers at all or hear any spoilers at all, go ahead and head out, because there will be a few throughout. There has to be in order for me to talk about the game, of course. But anyways, let's get started. Let's hop into the cons first. I want to talk about what I didn't like, and then afterwards we'll go into what I did like. I feel like the pros outweigh the cons, just to go ahead and let you know there right up front. But I feel like there were some cons that a lot of people are skipping over when they're talking about this game. There's been a lot of reviews coming out, and it's like 9 out of 10, 4 out of 5, 4.5 out of 5. It's getting really good reviews, but I feel like they're glossing over some of the negatives, and I want to go ahead and talk about those first. So when I first played through it, I noticed that it was taking a very long time to get to the starter Pokemon, and also it took a long time just to be able to free roam around the map. And I think that is because there are just way too many cutscenes throughout the game. It was actually one of my biggest complaints with X and Y, where cutscenes were just very numerous, and it was very story heavy, whereas in past games, you know, the story elements sort of took a backdrop to your goal to become the champion. You know, beating Team Rocket in Generation 1 is sort of like a side thing, you know, it's sort of in your way as you try to become the champion. Whereas in Sun and Moon, the story is very prominent, and that's mostly your goal, is to follow the story, rather than to become a champion or whatever it seems. There's a lot more emphasis on story, and I think that kind of takes me out of the game a little bit, because for a large part of it, you're just mashing A. I timed it, and it's 41 minutes. It took me 41 minutes to get through the first main sequence of the game, and what I mean by that is the section from where you go from pressing A every 30 seconds to where you go and you're able to finally free roam on your own, you know, with limitations, of course. You can't go everywhere, but you're able to go and catch Pokemon on your own. You're able to make some of your own decisions at that point. It takes about 41 minutes to get to that point, and that's just way too long for me. I feel like the cutscenes ruin it at the very beginning, and then also at the end. There's a lot of cutscenes throughout that make the game, you know, take some time. It's been called like one of the longer Pokemon games. I think this actually might be the longest one. Some people have been saying it's taken them like 20-30 hours to beat the main story, and I think that it's not necessarily because it's a very long game, but more because the cutscenes take up so much time. Like I said, 41 minutes in the first part, and then it's like 1.5 to 2 times as much at the end. Once you beat the main story, you can't just soft reset and wake up in your home like in previous generations. You have to go through this whole main sequence, then you have to go through this one thing, which I'm not going to spoil, and then you have to go through the credits, and then you have to go through another cutscene that shows you waking up in your house, and that takes a little while, and it just takes a long time to get back control of your character, and it takes you out of the game. It's really just annoying to be sitting there mashing the A button. I feel like a lot of people overlook how long the cutscenes are. I don't think cutscenes should be longer than 30 seconds, and I don't think they should occur so frequently. You know, you can have a good story without having to take control away from the player, and I feel like they just kind of messed that up a bit. That's a big negative for me when I was playing it. So, you know, it's something to look out for when you're playing. You know, just keep that in mind, that it's just really annoying. You know, the story itself I felt was very good. I felt like the graphics were beautiful. Honestly, top notch in that department. But the cutscenes really just bothers me. Anyways, let's move on from that. I've ranted enough. So my other complaints are basically that they removed quite a few features that were prominent in past Pokemon games. So like the ability to fish wherever you want. They removed all the fishing rods and gave you a generic fishing rod. And there's some problems with that. They removed shiny hunting methods. And let's talk about why that's important. Well, for one, being able to fish anywhere doesn't seem like it's such a big feature, you know? It's been a part of every Pokemon game. Why remove it? You know, these aren't necessarily huge removals. You know, it doesn't take away a lot from the game, but it's just, altogether, they add up. And it's like, why? Why remove these things? Why can I not fish wherever I want anymore? Why do I have to fish in this one little spot? Why does it matter? I don't know, it's kind of confusing. I mean, if I go to my backyard and I want to go fishing, I can cast the pole the line wherever I want into the water. And in Sun and Moon, you cannot do that anymore, and it's kind of ridiculous. Another thing that goes along with that is they no longer have the old rod, the new rod, the super rod, whatever the rods are called, honestly. I forget what the second rod was. I think I said it was the new rod, but I don't know. I know it's the old rod, the super rod, maybe the ultra rod. I've forgotten. But anyways, it's just annoying because now you have all of these Pokemon, low level and high level, rare and non-rare Pokemon, in the same category. So when you go to cast your reel, you're going to end up with a lot of Magikarps before you end up with that rare Pokemon. And that might not be a huge deal for some people, but I've spent 20 minutes fishing in an area trying to get that rare Pokemon because I want to complete my decks, but I can't get it because I'm getting Magikarps. That was the beautiful benefit of having so many different rods. If you want a Magikarp, you can use the old rod. If you want a Gyarados, you can use the super rod. And you know that you're not going to end up with a whole bunch of Magikarps in your way. It's just a huge annoyance. They should not have done that. It really doesn't take too much away. It bothers me. It's just a small nuisance, but these small nuisances add up. And onto the shiny hunting now. They removed Dex Nav. There's no Poke Radar, there's no Horde hunting, there's no chain fishing anymore. Those are the 4 main methods that were in Generation 6 for shiny hunting, and those are all gone. Now all we have are full odds, and then there's a new method introduced in Sun and Moon. I'm going to do a tutorial on that, but I mean, why? Why get rid of all these things? Now, I have a feeling why they got rid of Horde hunting, and that would be because I noticed some frame drops when I was playing on the old 3DS. I don't think they optimized it for the old 3DS. And I honestly, if it wasn't optimized or wasn't going to be optimized, I think they maybe should have tried to either like lower their specifications so that it could work, or they should have like just made it new 3DS only. And I know that would have hurt their sales to make it new 3DS only. So they should just have like lowered the quality or something. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me why. It's hurting their game, in my opinion, because they're trying to put all this content on an old system. And while it's nice for me as a content creator, I don't have to go buy a new 3DS with a capture card. It's just like, it hurts you to do that, to make a game that's not optimized for the system, and then to have to remove features because you can't optimize it right. It's very annoying. I don't know how it is on the new 3DS, but I do know there's frame drops throughout, especially if you have double battles. I haven't seen any triple battles or more in Sun and Moon, but in double battles for sure there's some lag, and also when there's certain Pokemon on the field or certain forms on the field, there's some screen lag, some frame rate lag. It doesn't affect the game, but visually it's just not appealing, so that's a problem there. Another thing is it's very easy to get lost outside of the story events, so we're all used to having a very, confined region, but in this case we have 4 mini regions kind of within one region, and it's kind of nice to have something new. It's definitely an improvement, I would say. I would even say that it seems a lot larger because it's 4 mini regions, but because of that it's very easy to get lost, and that's because you have to remember the names of places that are all on each island. You have to remember the names of the islands. And the routes aren't outlined anymore when you go to fly or move around. The routes are usually highlighted when you go and look at the map. It'll say Route 1, Route 2, Route 3. But in this game, the routes are not like very even. They're kind of just squiggly all over the place. It's not like a route is one straight line anymore, which is kind of nice. I will say that it's a nice change, but not having them outlined on the map, it makes it hard to read. Okay, I have to go to Route 8, and then you have to go find a Poke Center on Route 8 or some other thing near Route 8 in order to be able to identify it as Route 8. It's an annoyance. It's a problem. My other biggest problem with the gameplay is that they went all out to change the HM system, but they kind of left out a big part for me. And the thing is, they have ride Pokemon now, so instead of, rock smashing something, you have a ride Pokemon that you can ride and smash the rocks with, or that you can use strength with, or any other HM really. So if you need to get through an obstacle, there's a Pokemon for it. But for the flying Pokemon, there's no ride feature to it, which it's kind of strange to me. I mean, like in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, you had Latios and Latias where you could fly on the back of one of them, and you could fly around the map, and that was really cool. And I get that Instafly is a lot better, it's a lot faster, and people will use that more often. But not being able to ride the flying Pokemon around just seems like they wanted to go all in on this ride Pokemon idea, but then, like, they said, never mind, we don't want to do that, it's too difficult, or whatever. I don't know, like, why leave that feature out? Just some small things everywhere, and it's just kind of annoying to me. My last thing that I kind of, like, was iffy about in this game was the trials. So there's no gyms in this game. This is the first game where they've kind of gone outside the formula a lot. And instead of gyms, we have these things called trials. There's grand trials, and then there's regular trials. Each island has a set of regular trials, and then there's a grand trial at the end. And they sort of just seem inconsistent because it's not always the same thing. And I guess that's kind of cool in a way, but it kind of takes away from the theme, I think, because I don't know, if you're going to become a champion, you want to beat all the gyms. But if all the gyms are doing different things, it's just kind of weird. Like, you know, the first one's a battle, and the second one you have to do a puzzle, and then the third one is something else, and it's just, they're not the same thing. And it just seems weird to me. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but it just seems like they were very inconsistent. And then the rewards for beating them. There's a reward type item for each of the trials, and you get one for beating each trial, basically. But they're not just rewards for the trials, because you can also find them by walking around on the map. You can't find the specific ones that the trials give you, but you can find similar things just walking around in the world. And it just seems like if they're going to be a trial, you know, reward, that you shouldn't just be able to find them wherever, you know. You should have to do something to earn them. Even if there's so many of them, you should still have to earn them some way. That's my opinion. I don't know, it just seems weird, you know? Okay, I got this fire item, but the ice item is just lying around out there. Like, why? It's just, come on. I don't know. It's just small little things add up for me, and I don't think it takes away too much from the game. It's just a nuisance thing throughout, I would say. But let's move on to the pros. I feel like I've ranted and raved a little too much at what I didn't like. Let's go into what I did like. Like I was saying earlier, I think it has a beautiful graphics, and it is a great story. I would say it's arguably the best in any Pokemon game so far. It's not, like, crazy hard. It's not crazy easy. I actually had a few times where I lost. People are saying it's kind of the same difficulty as X and Y, but I would say it's a little bit harder because I did lose a few times throughout. Maybe it's just because of the starter I chose, but, you know, I didn't have to turn off the experience share, and I didn't have to use set mode in order to make it difficult, which I thought was nice. You know, I could just play through the game. It was a little bit difficult. If I lost, it was because I was under-leveled and I knew it. And if I won, I knew because I had played well. And, you know, honestly, I think the AI has made some improvements. The AI were using moves that I was not expecting at all. There were a few times where the AI was using Swords Dance, it was using Nasty Plot. They were trying to use moves that, you know, a real battler would use trying to beat you. And I thought that was really interesting throughout the game. Although in some parts, it seemed like the trainers were trying to use status moves more often than attacking moves. And in some cases, it just didn't make sense. Like, if you were battling a weaker Pokemon, for example, and it used Growl on you, and you were, like, a special attacker, it was just, I don't know, it was good in some areas, but not so good in others. But maybe that's part of the thing. Maybe, like less strong trainers wouldn't have the best AI, so maybe that was a feature. But anyways, I thought it was a good game. I thought it worked out well. I liked the fact that it was a very large region, or felt large because of the 4 islands, and it was a different style. It was something that we weren't used to. You know, it breaks us out of the bland, the stale, you know, regions. I was actually complaining in Gen 6 when X and Y came out that the region was a circle. I was like, there was nothing that made it different. You know, Kanto has a square shape to it, but then it's got a little square inside of it. It's not perfectly square. You know, Johto is kind of the same way. It's kind of like a rectangle, and there's another rectangle inside of it. And Hoenn is honestly, I think, the best designed region, but Sun and Moon kind of just pushed that all to the side and said, we're doing something different. And it honestly worked very well, I would say, other than getting lost here and there. But overall, it was very good. I think the Pokemon were very well designed. There were no Pokemon this generation that I thought were kind of like weak designs. There was no Vanillux, no Garbodor, no Klefki, and I don't know if people actually complain about Klefki, but Klefki is one of those Pokemon to me where it's like an inanimate object, and I'm not sure how I feel about it being a Pokemon. There are a couple inanimate object Pokemon in Sun and Moon, but I felt like they were designed well enough to where it didn't bug me. They weren't like derpy Vanillux or Garbodor, which is, really nice. I think, as long as they're not derpy and badly designed, it's okay. So that's my thoughts on the Pokemon. The ride system, aside from not being able to fly on the back of the flying Pokemon, was really good. Very, very well implemented. You no longer need to use up a move slot on HMs. You no longer need to have certain Pokemon in your party to be able to use those HMs. You can use the ride Pokemon wherever, whenever, pretty much as long as you have room to summon them. And they just show up, which is really cool, So if I'm in the middle of a cave and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't bring Strength, I don't have to run all the way back to the Pokemon Center. I just get the Strength Pokemon out, push the dang boulders, and we're good to go, which is really nice. Like I said, the flying thing is the only complaint I have on that, but not a huge deal. I like throughout the game also, like, whenever you faced a rival, they would heal you up after a fight, so you wouldn't have to run back to the Pokemon Center. I know in previous games, I think X and Y sort of did a little bit of this, but in previous generations, before 6, you would pretty much have to go back to the Poké Center after almost every fight with one of your rivals or with like a really strong trainer, because they wouldn't heal you. You'd walk up to a new area and then be like, let's heal. Then you'd have to run all the way back to the Pokemon Center and then run all the way back in order to get to where you wanted to go. And it's just kind of an annoyance. So it was kind of nice just having the rivals there to heal you up. And to go along with that, you also can now heal like status conditions at the end of each battle. You might be able to do it just like standing there. I haven't really checked it out too much, but there is a feature now. So when you end a battle with a status condition, you have a chance to heal that off. You can use this medicine thing and you just like swipe your Pokemon around and it heals them. So now you don't have to run back for status conditions. If your Pokemon's paralyzed or burned or poisoned, or I guess frozen too. I haven't healed a frozen guy yet. I haven't had a frozen Pokemon, but if your Pokemon has a status condition, you just heal it up right then and there, and you don't have to worry about it for the next battle. Which is a big plus for me, especially like in the Pokemon League. I don't think I had any of those problems in the Pokemon League where I got status, but if I did, I would be able to heal it off after a match, and I wouldn't have to be like, oh man, my Pinsir only has 25% speed because he's paralyzed, or like my Incineroar got burned somehow. So that can't happen because it's a fire type, but you get what I'm saying. It's just really nice to have that. And also, a new thing to this game was like when you're walking up to a trainer and they haven't battled you yet, the screen will dim at the top and the bottom. Like if you want to avoid a battle, maybe you're on very low health, and you're like, I don't know, is that guy a trainer or not? Now the screen will dim if they're a trainer, so you can know, okay, well, I gotta avoid them. And if you're out of their line of sight, then it won't dim, which means you can go around. Really nice feature. Because, you don't always want to get into a fight. Most of the time you got to, when you're going through it, you want to train up so that you're ready for the trials or, the championship or whatever. You want to train up and you want to fight as many trainers as possible. But when you're in that predicament where you're like, oh, I'm on low health, I got to get to a Pokemon Center first. In those cases, you got to be able to see where the trainers are. And it's just a really nice feature there. And the last thing I want to say was that, ooh, man, I've lost my train of thought here. Real quick, what did I want to say? Okay, I got it now. Well, there's two things that I want to talk about. One was that, like I said, it's very easy to get lost when you're going around the map because routes aren't laid out. But when you're doing this story, a new feature that was implemented in this game was that a little red dot will appear on your map and tell you where to go for each story event. So that means you don't have to, like, wait around, or like if you miss something in the text, you don't have to be like, oh my gosh, what did they say, where did they go, and then you have to run around forever trying to figure out where you're going. I'm one of those people that doesn't like to read the text. I just like to mash the A button and try to get through it as fast as possible. In this game, it's kind of difficult, like I said, with the cutscenes, but either way, it gets kind of boring. You're sitting there reading. Maybe you just want to multitask, watch some Netflix while you're playing. Well, now you can do that because it'll tell you where to go for each story event, so you don't necessarily have to read it, which is a really nice thing, and it's really effective, especially like if you go to save the game, you turn it off, you wake up the next morning, you're like, oh, where did I leave off, So even if you are paying attention, but, you just have something to come up, maybe you have to leave the room for a second, you forget what they said, you can just go to that spot now and pick up where you left off very easily. which is really nice. And the last thing that I want to talk about that I really loved in this game was that now moves show how effective they are versus an opponent's Pokemon if you have seen them before. So let's say you have your Incineroar and you're facing a Chansey. I don't think Chansey's in the game, or is in Sun and Moon. But anyways, let's say you're facing a Chansey. If you've seen a Chansey in your Pokedex before, it'll tell you that all of your fighting moves are super effective versus it. It'll tell you that, you know, any of your non-fighting moves that might not be effective at all or might have no effect aren't effective against it. And it's just really nice because that means you don't have to remember all the typings, the type charts. I think it would really go a long way to helping people get into Pokemon who weren't already into it, or like younger people who are just now getting into Pokemon. You know, they don't know types or like type advantages or disadvantages yet. It'll help them learn because they'll see, okay, well this move is going to be super effective against this Pokemon, and then you can go ahead and see their typing either after the match, looking in the Pokedex, after you've caught that Pokemon or whatever. So I just think it's a really nice feature. Overall, I would give this game an 8 out of 10. I think that the cutscenes really, really hurt the story for me. Not being able to control my character for more than 30 seconds at a time and having the big, long sequences of cutscene, no cutscene, cutscene, you know, just for like 40 minutes at the time at the beginning of the game, like an hour at the end. It's just, it really bothers me. That really takes away a lot for me. So that's like one point. And then I would say that the other point that I had to take away was from all the features that are missing. Like I said, they're not big features. These are not big things. Not being able to fish wherever you want. That's not a huge deal. But like added up with the fact that you can't fly on your fly-in Pokemon, which doesn't make sense because we could do it no rest. not getting all the shiny hunting methods that we used to have, not optimizing the game for the old 3DS so you didn't have frame rate drops. These are just minor problems, but they all add up. So I would say that it's a solid 8 out of 10. Arguably, I would say it's one of the best Pokemon games so far. The best story, I would say, the best graphics. But overall, 8 out of 10. That's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this helps you out in deciding to buy the game, or, you know, maybe just to talk about, you know, how you feel about it. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys think, because I know we're all going to have different opinions. You might not feel the same way. Maybe you enjoyed the fact that there were a lot of cutscenes. Maybe that added to the story. For me, it took away, but, you know, we all have different opinions. Go ahead and leave your opinion down below in the comments section, and maybe we can start a conversation. But anyways, guys, peace out, and I will see you in the next video.